Today we are going to talk about perspective, and in particular, one-point perspective. And perspective is a trick that artists use to make it look like things are either far away or up close, and to really give you the illusion of space and depth on a flat surface or on a piece of paper. So today we're going to do a one-point perspective of a city near the sea. So the first thing I want you to do is, if your paper is portrait or vertical, I want you to turn it on its side and make it horizontal or landscape mode. And we are going to begin by drawing a big X on our paper. And you do not need a ruler for this. You just want to make sure that your line connects from one corner to the other. And I am going to make this line really light because it will be erased. These lines are just going to guide us, and they are going to give you our 1 point that I mentioned. So this is going to be our 1 point that's going to be really important in this lesson. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a line right across, making sure to connect to that 1 point, a horizontal line, and that's going to be our horizon, where the sky separates from the land, or in this case, not only where the sky separates from the land, but where the sky separates from the ocean. And now we can begin. So we are going to begin by drawing buildings on this side with different architectural elements, and we're going to do an ocean with sailboats on this side. So we have a road here in the middle, and the first thing we want to do to this road is we want to make sidewalks. So remember, whatever gets closest to us is lower on the paper and gets larger. So if this is my road and I want a sidewalk on either side, I'm going to go back up to this 1 point. This is our 1 point perspective, our vanishing point, where things are going to look like they're vanishing or disappearing. And you don't need to make a polka dot that big. I just wanted to make sure you could see it on the screen. I am going to go ahead and darken up this line so that you can see it really well. And this road is going to look like it's getting farther and farther away from us and vanishing. And now I'm going to create the sidewalk. So the sidewalk, I'm going to go right up to that point again. And as I get closer to the bottom of my paper, that sidewalk gets wider and wider and wider because it's getting closer to me. Now I'm going to do the same on this side because we have a sidewalk on both sides of the road, just like that. So it's wider at the bottom and it gets narrower or vanishes at the vanishing point. And to the center, I am going to make the yellow line that separates the cars so they know what direction to go in. And again, as these yellow lines get closer to me, they are going to get larger and a little bit farther away from each other. This is something that you also use to create that perspective, that illusion of space, because as things are bigger, they're closer to us, or things are closer to us, they are larger. And now we can start doing our buildings on this side. So the first thing I want to do is, I'm going to darken this up just so that you can see it really, really well. We are going to start creating buildings on this side. So I'm going to erase just this line right here. We're going to leave that side there. And I am going to start drawing buildings, and my buildings are going to touch this line as well as this line. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the edge of my paper, and I am going to make a line straight across like this. And I'm going to touch that line right here. And when I touch that line, I am going to come straight down, and I'm going to touch the line of the sidewalk, just like that. When I touch the sidewalk, I am going to go across and come off the edge of the paper again. So it almost looks like one big rectangle. And this is the side of our building. And now I want to make the front of the building. So for the front of the building, I'm going to go back up to the roof, and I'm going to make a line right on that first line that we made. And this really depends how long you want or how wide you want the front of your building to be. So I'm going to make my line stop right here, and I'm going to come straight back down. And this is our first building. So this is the front of the building that steps out into the sidewalk. This is the side of our building. And I'm going to keep doing that all the way until I get to my vanishing point. And each building is going to get smaller and smaller, and each building is also going to get higher and higher. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come over here, and I'm going to do that same exact line, and I'm going to stop right here, just like that. And another line straight down, and it's going to touch my sidewalk. And when it touches my sidewalk, I am now going to come back across. So I created that rectangle again. And then for the front of my building, again, I follow the line of the X, and I come straight down, So now we have our second building. So I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna come across and I'm gonna stop at the X, straight down, and then straight across again to create the side of the building, and then the front of the building. And I'll keep doing that as I work my way to my vanishing point. And you wanna make as many as you can, even if they're teeny tiny, all the way down at the end. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings. And I can start adding all kinds of architectural elements that I want. But before we do that, let's go ahead and finish the road and finish this side, which is going to be our sea, our ocean. So to this side, if this is going to be our ocean, our city by the sea, we definitely don't want people falling into the water. So we're going to create a little rail or a little fence. So I'm gonna come back up to this point, and now I'm gonna make 2 lines. And again, they get farther away from each other as they get closer to the bottom. And I'm gonna make another line here, just like this. And now I'm going to add some posts. So I'm just gonna add some rectangles. So I'm gonna come down to my sidewalk and make a rectangle. Nice tall rectangle. And as I continue to make my rectangles, they are going to get, or look like they're getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller as they get farther and farther away. And as they get farther and farther away, they also get closer and closer and lighter and lighter and lighter until they get to that vanishing point, okay? Now I'm gonna make this one just a little bit shorter and this one a little bit taller. Okay. Alrighty. Okay, to my sidewalk, I am going to make just a few lines because sidewalks do have divisions on the cement. And just to give it a few more lines and texture. And again, as they get farther and farther away, they get closer and lighter. So again, do the same thing to this side. And these are just horizontal lines. And you can make yours maybe even a brick road if you like. Okay, so now I'm going to draw a few sailboats, and we're gonna keep these sailboats really simple, maybe 2 or 3 sailboats. So I'm gonna begin by drawing just a little wavy line in the ocean and the bottom of the sailboat. So I'm gonna make a diagonal line coming up out of the water and then 1 straight line going off the edge of the paper. Now to my sailboat, I gotta make that beautiful mast that helps the wind and the sails move the boat along. So I'm gonna start with 1 really, really tall post, and I'm gonna stop right there at that line. Remember that line that we made? That's guiding us back to our 1 point perspective. And I'm gonna come back down. This is a really skinny rectangle. This is gonna hold up our sails. And now to this post, I am going to add 2 sails. So one's gonna be really big. It's gonna connect here and back to the post to make it look like it's blowing in the wind. And I can erase the line going through it here. And to the other side, it's gonna come off the edge of the paper, and we don't see it, it comes off the edge of the paper, and maybe a little circle and a little flag here. And I could add any kind of details I want to my sailboat, but let's continue drawing a few more sailboats. So remember, these sailboats are gonna get smaller, and I'm gonna remain inside this little area to give me that illusion that they are getting farther and farther away. So I'm gonna start again with another little wave, and that diagonal line to make the bottom of my sailboat. And you can make any kind of boats you want here, boys and girls. Another post straight up. I'm gonna stop at that line, a skinny post, maybe add a little circle and a little flag and the nice big sail. And the other sail is going behind this one. So we're definitely overlapping, which also gives you the illusion that things are in front of or behind each other. And I could definitely do 1 or even 2 more, but I'll keep it simple and I'll just do another wavy line, a diagonal, another horizontal line, and then a tall post again stopping right here, and a little circle and a little flag, the sail, and there you go. Now I can erase this line here. And again, like I said, I can even add another sailboat here. but I'm not gonna add another sailboat. And I'm gonna make this line, that was a horizon line, I want it to look like the ocean. I'm gonna make it a little bit wavy to make it look like there's waves back there, okay? And I can start adding some details to all of my buildings. So how about we start with the doors? I'm gonna make a door for each one of these. So what you can do over here is you can come back to the front of your buildings, and remember, the front of your building is whichever part of your building is touching the sidewalk. So let's say I want my door, and since this is the first building, it's closest to me, it's biggest, I want this door to be pretty tall. So I'm just gonna make a little mark here, right there. That's how tall I want it to be. But before you draw it, you need to refer back to your vanishing point. So you come back to your vanishing point, and I'm gonna draw a super light line, and it's gonna connect here. And this line is gonna be at an angle. And this is really, really important, boys and girls. This is what's going to tell you how to draw your door, okay? So even though I went through all of these, this is what I really wanna see. So I'm just going to darken this up right here, and I'm following that angle. See how it goes back to that point? And just two straight lines down. And this is my first door. And I can add a double door. I can add handles. I can add maybe a little fancy something to the top of my door. You can add anything you want. And I need to do the same thing. So for all of my windows and all of my doors on the front of my buildings, I need to refer back to this vanishing point. So maybe I want a really tall window that goes from here to here. So I make the marks, how tall I want it. I come back to my vanishing point. So I know that this angle and this angle, so these angles right here is how I make the shape of my window. So I'm gonna use that one, and then just two straight lines. And again, you can add whatever you want. Maybe here, I have a little flower pot. And some lines in my windows. And I can keep doing that. So maybe now I want the next window to go from here to here. So I come back to my vanishing point. So this is the angle I want to follow for this one, but maybe this window is going to be a little different. So I'll follow that one here. And up here, maybe I am going to make a different shape window. So each window, each door, boys and girls, could be however you want. The side of my building, however, you don't need to worry about the vanishing point. They could be just straight because you are looking at the side of the building. So you can make any kind of windows and doors you like over here without having to refer back to this. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna do the same thing. So maybe this door is just gonna be a little bit shorter than this one. And I'm going to follow that original line that I made, and I am going to make this door a little bit rounded. And I'm gonna use some of these lines that I made to create these. So here I have another window, and maybe here, another window. And these could be apartment buildings, these could be stores, these can be whatever you want it to be. And on the side, I'm going to make it look like there's shutters on this door, or on this window rather. And you could keep adding, like I said, more and more windows and doors, mailboxes, flower pots, whatever you'd like. But I want to show you really quick how to add some rooftops if you want to add rooftops. So once you've created your windows and your doors and you've added really, really nice details, any architectural elements you want, now you can think about the roof. So for the roof, I am going to come to the middle of this line. And again, you can use a ruler, but I'm just gonna eyeball it, and I'm gonna say the middle is right here. Let's say the middle is right here, and I'm just gonna make a straight line up. And I'm going to create a triangle from the corners of the roof. So from here, I'm going to connect it there, and here, I'll connect it here. Now I don't need this line anymore. That was part of my original X. This is the side of my roof. So if I wanted to add an interesting pattern to my roof, maybe some lines here, and then this part of my roof is gonna come off the edge of the paper. And I can do that to all of my buildings. So again, I'm gonna come to the middle of this line, which is right here, a line straight up, a triangle, and this line goes straight back. Another line straight up, and then straight back. And you can see how these are starting to vanish because they are going to that one point or that vanishing point. And again, add as many details as you want, both to the buildings and to the sailboats. And then I want to make it look like the sun is setting or the sun is rising. So I'm going to make a big sun way back here. And this could be a sunset or a sunrise. Make it look like the sun is shining on this beautiful city by the sea. And now you can begin to add any details you like. So for example, on the big sail, I will add a star and some stripes and maybe some lines on the bottom of the sailboat, as well as maybe some hearts. You can add any kind of shapes or designs you like. Think about different patterns that you can add to each sailboat just to give it a little bit more of an interesting look. And to your buildings, think about different types of windows, window sills, and always remember that your windows need to refer back to that vanishing point. Think about what you can do to the rooftops, maybe what's inside your windows like curtains or some planters, anything that you can think of to make your homes or your buildings more interesting. You can add the address, so numbers, maybe even the signs of your buildings, maybe they're storefronts, maybe they're apartment buildings. And again, whenever you are drawing the windows, always refer back to your vanishing points and think about different architectural elements that you can add to your buildings and anything else you might want to add to the sky, to the road. Be as creative as you like.